Hello, Tar Heel Nation. Welcome back to another episode of UNC Hoops Talk. This is your host, Dan DeWitt, and super excited to be back. Practice has started. The guys are getting ready. We got a huge guest this week on the podcast, and just pumped to jump into it. Before we get to the interview, a lot has happened in college basketball and for North Carolina basketball since we last talked. We have the commitment of Nasir Little, a five-star commit, the first five-star since I think Justin Jackson, top 10 guy, big there. Of course, the big fallout of college basketball with the FBI investigation and all that, but we're going to get to that in a different podcast. And from that scandal to the UNC one, it was first announced that the penalties for UNC would come out Friday. That's been pushed back. So as that comes out, of course, we'll talk and dissect that. But yeah, like I said, practice has started. Luke May has won the mile. And the guys are the mile run, that is, and the guys are in the gym getting ready for the season. Late Night with Roy coming up this Friday, Friday the 13th. So hopefully that doesn't bring us any bad luck. But all that aside, like I said, huge guest today. We got 2005 national champion, former Tar Heel basketball player, and the greatest leader that Roy Williams has ever coached, David Noel. David, thanks for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
So we're going to jump right into it. I just talked about recruitment with Nasir Little a little bit. Your recruitment was a lot different because you kind of came in as a football recruit and then played basketball. Will you tell us a little bit how that worked? I don't think I've ever heard that full story.
So when I was at Southern Durham, uh, me and one of my friends were sitting around our sophomore year and just was like, you know what, let's just go play football. And ended up playing football, being pretty good at it, and got an offer from the University of North Carolina going into my senior year. Committed early. After the official visit, I knew exactly where I wanted to go. And it ended up being all kind of a blessing in disguise because I wanted to play both University of North Carolina, both football and basketball, and I knew Carolina had the history of that with guys like Ronald Curry, Julius Peppers, and just to name a few. But my senior year basketball season, I ended up winning Player of the Year for the conference and things like that, and North came to see a teammate of mine, a former teammate of mine, named by the name of Anthony King. He actually ended up going to the University of Miami. But when they came to see him, they also saw me as a potential walk-on to the team. And I ended up having a huge game. I want to say I finished with like 29 points or something like that. So when after the game, Coach Quarterbaum at the time, Fred Quarterbaum, he pulled me to the side and he was like, I want you to meet Coach Doherty. And Coach Doherty ended up saying, hey, listen, we really like you as a player. We think you can be something special for this team. We've had a lot of transfers. Only thing is we don't have a scholarship. So I was looking at him like, okay, what does that mean? So he was saying, we would like you to play basketball full time and, pay for your first year of college, and then you'll be on scholarship from there on out. So, I sat down with my family, my mother, my sisters, and just kind of weighed the pros and cons of it all and kind of went with my heart. At that particular time, basketball was kind of the love that I had fell in love with over the last couple of years. And even though football was still a big part of me, I wanted to go to college and do something that I loved. And at that particular time, basketball outweighed football. So I ended up calling Coach Bunton and Coach Brown, who was the coach at the time, the wide receiver coach at the time, and let them know that I was going to decommit and just come to the University of North Carolina and play basketball. They were kind of mad at me, which I completely understand because they had done a great job recruiting me, and again, I loved every bit of North Carolina and especially the football program, but my heart just wasn't in it the way that it was in basketball. So ended up committing and playing basketball, and it's been a heck of a ride thus far.
Yeah, and I'm sure you would have been a heck of a receiver with your ups and your athleticism and stuff, but definitely glad that you played basketball and it turned out pretty good, I'd say, for you. Transitioning into your time at North Carolina, obviously the championship is big. If anybody can win that, it's huge. But what's a couple of moments on the court, off the court? What do you think about when you think about your time at North Carolina and that you'll pass on to your son?
Uh, Honestly, like the University of North Carolina is a very special place, but college in general was just a blessing for me. One to be able to attend college, and even though I had to pay my first year, but to have someone else um, pay for me to go to college was like unfathomable. Um, and being that where I came from and my family's history, my sister she went on to college, my aunt was in college, my uncle was in college, but my immediate family, mother and father, they didn't have that opportunity. So just being able to go to college was such a blessing, and I was honored. And for me, passing that on to my sons is just knowing that going to college, first of all, is a blessing, and second, that it's the best 4 years of your life. It's the first time you kind of get to experience freedom, so to speak, but it's also the first time you get to and responsibility and all that kind of stuff. So it definitely helps you grow as a man and as a woman going into college and just kind of balancing being an athlete, being a student, and all of that kind of stuff. So but a lot of my memories on the court at Chapel Hill was probably during like pickup and things like that, where the former guys would come back and you would get a chance to play against your Vince Carters, your Rasheed Wallaces, your Shammond Williams, and guys like that, Antoine Jamesons, and guys that you looked up to on the basketball floor and watched play this game at a very high level, and then they're coming back and giving you pointers and teaching you how to do certain things. That was probably the biggest thing that I took away from playing at the University of North Carolina.
And you're now one of those players that goes back. You're very active in going back and playing with those current players and staying up with the program and stuff. We got late night coming up this Friday. Talk about what, as a player, it's like to go through late night. Is it kind of you're just looking forward to getting to the practice? I know it's different now that they've started practice, but I believe when you were still there, it was they did all the dancing and all those stuff, and then their first practice was late night. Talk about
Right.
that experience, and then also, if I correct me if I'm wrong, but did you not pull out a heavyweight belt in one of the late nights?
Yeah, that was right after the '05 championship, and championship belt, and it has '05 champs on it. So I wore that my senior year at late night just to kind of let everybody know that, first of all, we did just win the championship. We're getting ready to hang this banner. But second of all, don't think that there's going to be a major drop off this season just because we lost 7 players. That was kind of the statement that I wanted to make with that. And we held up to it. We had a great freshman class coming in. '06 with Tyler Hansbrough, Bobby Frazier, Danny Green, Marcus Ginyard, Mike Copeland. And we have great returning players too, with me, Rayshawn Terry, Byron Sanders, Wes Miller, all of those guys, Quentin Thomas. So, and we jailed right away. So that was one of the biggest things for that '06, that '05, '06 season was the amount of time that we had to just get to know each other. Freshmen coming in, those guys listening right away, and that was key. But late night was, for us, it was just the culmination of all of the preseason stuff coming to an end, all of the conditioning and all that kind of stuff coming to an end, and then actually getting ready for practice where coach is out there telling us what to do and that kind of deal. So late night for us, we were looking forward to it because we knew we had practice that next day, and we knew the scrimmage was that night during late night. We really didn't want anybody to get hurt, so everybody would be ready for practice the next day. But we also definitely battled at late night as well throughout that scrimmage just because we wanted bragging rights and things like that. So late night was definitely, especially during my time, like you said, they're practicing now. But during my time, that was the culmination of of the preseason ending and getting ready to start practice, and the guys were very excited for it.
So I'd like to hear kind of from your time at North Carolina, what's the on the basketball court? What's the first thing you think about?
Oh, of course, the 05 championship, no question.
What about a play beyond that? Of course, that's pretty easy to say, but is there a play that sticks out that you kind of replay in your mind, like I can't believe I did that, or I'm never going to let that one die, anything like that?
Oh yeah, I got a couple of those. I got so and the crazy part about it, a couple of those aren't even me. So but number one probably definitely has to be my Kentucky dunk at Kentucky. Um, when the lane opened up, all I said was just jump, and I jumped, and everybody kind of got out the way, and they jumped a little bit and kind of pulled their hands back, and it became one of my staple dunks at the University of North Carolina. But also us beating NC State at North Carolina my senior year. I had the windmill dunk. That was another special one. But also beating Duke at Duke when Tyler Hansbrough hit that three to kind of give us the kind of the cushion that we needed with Duke making the run that they had made to come back into the game. But once he made that three, we kind of let loose a little bit and Bobby Frazier stepped to the line and made two key free throws, and it was that was probably outside of the national championship and those dunks, that's probably one of the special moments that I've had at North Carolina, going into Cameron Indoor Stadium beating Duke at Duke my senior year.
That's awesome. I know you had enough dunks that I'm glad that at least a couple stick out to you, because I can remember several more than that even. But moving on past North Carolina now, talk a little bit about what you've been doing. I know you got drafted. You were in the league a couple years, but even since then, and then also the new job that you just got.
So, yeah, like you said, I got drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks in the second round in 2006. Enjoyed every minute of the NBA. Definitely understood that it was a business. So, just learning and developing my game was definitely key. And in that time, I grew as a player, I grew as a man, and I started to understand the game of basketball a little bit more. Then I went overseas. I've played in Spain, the Philippines, uh, France, Slovakia, Venezuela, Argentina, just to name a few. But after that, I recently retired this year. I played my last year in France last season, and recently retired this past season, and was blessed and fortunate enough to interview for the head coaching job down at Southern Durham High School, where I became. They chose me as their new head basketball coach. So I'm a high school coach now, and enjoying every single minute of it. Just to have the opportunity to give back to some of the kids that are walking the same halls that I walked and taking some of the same classes that I've taken, but helping them to understand the work ethic that it's going to take to get to their goals and get to where they want to get to. Not only as basketball players, but as students as well. That's one of the first things that I asked for once I became the head coach, was I wanted to see transcripts and so I could see exactly where kids were as far as their academics were concerned, because I know that's one of the biggest things that we're going to need to be able to do at Southern Durham, is to get these kids on track academically, and then we can worry about the basketball part of it. But again, I'm enjoying every minute of it and very excited for the opportunity and thankful and blessed.
So of course that off the court stuff is a little bit about it, or a little bit of it. But what's the difference going from player to coach? Is your mindset different? What have you put into it so far?
Oh well, I put a I put a lot of time into it, honestly, and it's simply because, like, I want to be the best coach that I can be, and I've always told myself that I knew I wanted to be a coach after I was done playing, and I and chance I would pick the minds of different coaches. So I talked to Coach Williams. I've talked to the entire North Carolina staff. I've talked to a good friend, LaVelle Moten, down in North Carolina Central, Jack Emanuel over at UNCW, Wes Miller over at UNCG, Jack Wooten over at Elon. So I've just talked to a bunch of different coaches and just kind of picked their brains about what I need to look for and things like that. So I'm learning all of the things that you didn't know a coach had to do when you're a player. Like when you're a player, you just go out there and play. And the coach has to take care of scheduling. He has to do like workouts, and he has to do this and he has to do that. So I'm learning all of those things now, but I'm enjoying learning it too because I just feel like educating myself to be the best coach that I can be will in turn help my student athletes to become the best student athletes that they can be.
So is there one or maybe two coaches that you've taken the most from, or that you'll kind of run their style? You're going to try to run a UNC style, or is it obviously it depends on your players and year to year? I know that.
Yeah, I'll definitely adapt my styles depending upon my talent level. But as of right now, I'm actually running things from that I've learned from overseas, with a little bit of mix of North Carolina in there. So we're definitely North Carolina is in my blood. So and Coach Williams was very influential on how he taught the game, and so my style of coaching will definitely be that. But my sets and those kind of things will be from a coach that I played with overseas, a guy named Philip Hervé. He's one of the best coaches over in France, and I've learned a lot from him as well. And he's done a great job. But his system fit me, I think, best out of all of the systems that I've ever played in, and it glorified ball movement, and that's what I want to see from my guys at Southern Durham.
That's really interesting, and of course, we wish you all the best. I wanted to finish off with kind of your thoughts of the more current Carolina teams. I don't know. I believe you were there last year. Were you at the last two seasons championship games, and then also kind of what your thoughts from the outside looking into those last two of losing the championship, and then the guys getting the redemption and going back and winning last year?
Yeah, so I was not at the games, but I was overseas, and I was up watching the I was up watching the games, and that game against Villanova, whew, that thing still hurts to this day. And watching him, first of all, watching Marcus Pace, because we were at such a high when Marcus made his shot, and then 4 seconds later to be like crushed back down to earth was like so heartbreaking. And like to this day, I still can't watch that game again. But and the crazy part about it is I get more nervous now than when, and it's kind of funny, but a lot of guys are like that that have played. I've talked to some of my former teammates, and they're like that as well. But when they went back this year, I think I put out a Instagram or something like that talking about the best yet. Like North Carolina had not put it all together throughout the entire tournament. They kept getting by. They kept getting by. But if they could put it all together in the Final Four and in those last two games, then I thought Carolina could win it all. They still didn't play their best, but they got it done. And again, it was redemption for Marcus Page, Bryce Johnson, Joel James, and those guys I felt like are a part of that championship as well, because the seniors that left that team left such an impression on those guys that they wanted to get it done the next year, not only for themselves, but also for the guys that it didn't happen for the season before. But also it also turned around North Carolina, I feel like, because we had been dealing with so much with the academic scandal and all that kind of stuff, that it just kind of restored the legacy, and it kind of restored everything that North Carolina is about, because we had taken so many hits with losing recruits and all of that kind of stuff because of the scandal, that winning that championship almost kind of was like a breath of fresh air in all of that turmoil that was going on. So I put out like I said, I put out an Instagram just thanking those guys for the heart that they play with, for the leadership that they play with. Thanking Marcus, Joel, and Bryce for the impression that they left on that team, to be able to take that kind of a hit the year before and then come back and do it again. Of those guys, and we'll see what happens this year.
Well, and that's what I'm going to ask you next. Is Marcus Page already put out Twitter that he predicted another Final Four run. Have you been able to? Obviously, you're busy now with your new team and stuff, but have you been able to keep up a little bit with the guys there? You know, what's your prediction of this year?
They have the talent. We're going to be guard heavy this year, but it's definitely going to depend on our bigs and how well they adapt. If the bigs can adapt to the style of play that Coach Williams wants to play and get up and down the floor and make easy buckets and offensive rebound like they did last year, then I can't see us back in the Final Four. But it's definitely going to depend on that. I am on our guards. You might see maybe a small lineup here and there, maybe even playing Luke May at the 5 at times, with Theo at the 4, Cam at the 3, maybe Kenny Williams at the 2 with Joel at the 1 kind of deal. So it all depends on what coach sees out there, man. But it's definitely going to depend on the freshman big that have just come in and how fast they can adapt to college play. And I feel like they're gonna be right there. And if they can get big plays out of the bigs down the stretch, then I feel like North Carolina could go back to back Final Fours and possibly back-to-back championships.
All right. Well, I greatly appreciate this time. It looks like you've stopped driving there. You must be home, so I don't want to take any more of your time. And like I said, I appreciate you coming on. We wish you all the best with your first season as a head coach, and we'll definitely be keeping up with you.
Definitely appreciate that, man. Thank y'all for having me, and thank y'all. And y'all come out and support Southern Durham. We're at 800 Clayton Road. We're going to need all the support that we can get. We want to pack the gym out like it used to be. So, and support these young kids and the effort and the work that they're going to be putting in over the next couple of weeks and the start of the season coming November 6th.
All right, and we'll be looking for that next David Noel coming out of there, coming to Chapel Hill.
All right.
So again, thanks, David. And before I let everybody go, I want to remind you to send in your predictions. The next podcast we do will be the predictions podcast, where we run through the schedule and predict everything. So send those in. All the links will be in the description of this. Again, David, I can't thank you enough for coming on. I appreciate it, and have a good day.
All right, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
And always remember, go Heels.
Yes, sir. Go Heels.